None of these mods are bad, that's not what I'm saying. Reread the title, this is actually going to be a fun video. I'm just talking about how it's pretty difficult as a noob to get advice for a lot of car mods. We already know that a lot of elitists run rampant in the car community, so here are 4 car mods you should never ask advice for. When it comes to wheel elitism, you're gonna always have those people who call you a poor, call your build poverty spec, despite being on Affirmed financed wheels and bags. And look, I support real wheels and all, but if someone doesn't have the money to get them right away, why do you have to rush them to get them off their OEM? So my best advice for this is that OEM wheels are fine, you know? And the advice that I would constantly warn you against is that a lot of people constantly expect noobs to be made of money and just instantly start dumping minimum of 3 grand on an amazing set of wheels. The best advice I can give is here's a pyramid. You see these brands in the middle? Anything here and above is fine. Don't let the elitists get to you where they're like, you gotta be on a set of anything has to be Volks Racing, everything has to be a set of Advans or Blitz 03s or blah blah blah. It's alright, you want HREs, you want a Forged Star, you want a Forged Line, you want a TSW even. I highly recommend though to just stay on OEMs if you can. I couldn't because OEM crappy GM C7 wheels were awful that I finally got sick of them. But for most manufacturer OEM wheels, there's no shame in it because that's what your car came on, right? If you bought it new, even if you bought it used, the previous owner may not have changed it. Another form of advice I would give, again to counter a lot of the bad advice, because this happens a lot to my fellow muscle car owners and my fellow American car owners and even European cars and supercar owners, because I've had friends with Lotuses almost get talked into stuff like this. It's very difficult to take wheel advice from a lot of these elitists because most of them drive, I don't mean this in an offensive way, I just mean this in a very literal, actual sense of the matter way. They drive Miatas and a lot of other smaller JDM cars. Like a lot of people I know in Atlanta who try to give wheel advice, and a lot of people in general on the internet who try to give wheel advice are usually used to recommending 15, 16, 17s or 18s, and the widest width they're running is usually like 8, 9, or 9.5s. And unfortunately, I knew someone who had a Corvette who was talked down into a smaller wheel, a much smaller wheel, to the point that they're spinning out their tires everywhere they go, and they're just like, well, what went wrong? And it's like you put JDM wheels on a very fast high-end muscle car, like not like a normal base model Corvette without the wide body. Like if you have like a 01 C6 or C7 Z06, or heaven forbid even the newer C8s, unless you're going like beadlock drag wheels or like track day wheels, I still think 18s are fine. But I think width matters a lot. Engineers are smarter than all of us. They're smarter than me and they're smarter than the average car enthusiast. If they design the car to function a certain way, chances are it's best left that way. Rotational mass usually isn't something you want to joke around in. If a Corvette is usually on 20 by 12s, when you suddenly put 18 by 9s on its rear and you have a 275 tire instead of a 335 tire, it's unsurprising that you can't get grip anymore. And like I said, I've met people in real life and online who get talked down into this. One of my friends who owns a Lotus, he almost got talked into by a whole bunch of JDM fanboys to, oh dude, put some Advans on your Lotus, oh dude, get like 17s or 18s bro, or like he didn't have the available size for his car or bolt pattern, and they're like, yeah, run adapters bro, yeah, downsize your wheel, get a smaller wheel, get a thinner wheel, it's worth it for the style bro. He ended up sticking on OEMs thankfully, and good, because his OEM wheels actually have fantastic fitment as is. And the worst part is when he ignored them, they go, yeah, you poor, you're on OEMs, broke boy, haha. He's in a Lotus. He's in a freaking Lotus. Let that sink in. You're having people on clapped out JDM cars call this man of a Lotus a broke boy just because he's refusing to take their advice. Don't let people bully you. Again, this isn't, sorry that I picked on JDM guys as an example, because the inverse can happen. Muscle car owners will sometimes try to bully JDM people into putting massive 20-inch HREs on a freaking Civic that they don't need, you know? It can go vice versa, but I'm just using that as an example, so don't get offended. My best advice to this is just stay on your OEMs until you can make a good decision. The majority of suspension advice in the modern car community basically boils down to just slam it bro, slam it bro, camber it bro, caster, you get new caster bro, stance it bro, don't do bags, static life bro. If that's your thing, whatever. I'm not gonna stop you from being a stance boy, but I'm also not gonna pretend that people who have stance cars are some of the loudest MFs online that I've ever met. Like, y'all need to chill. Holy crap, y'all need to chill, because it's okay for some people to want ground clearance. Everyone doesn't like to be like you. To anyone who's in the pursuit of performance, you'll find trying to ask for suspension advice ends up getting the attention and attraction of the show builders. And again, different builds have different needs, so my best advice is to 2 fingers is usually my favorite type of fitment. You can also go 1 finger fitment. However, if you're sitting on your tire or you're starting to add a lot of camber or whatever, again, you start to go more towards the show territory and less towards performance territory. It does matter for someone when they're generally asking for performance advice and they're constantly getting bombarded by people who are just trying to peer pressure them to just be like them, join their community. If you're someone who has a performance car and you're looking for performance car advice, and you're someone who's never driven a performance car, stop trying to give us advice. Like, I'm sick of these people because they're trying to get everyone to build the same car, and then when they go to car meets, they all have surprised Pikachu faces when everyone else's car looks exactly like their car. You want a drag car, you need drag squat sway bars, small rear wheel, and a fat rear tire. You want a drift car, you do need camber. Get a new caster plate, get those coils adjusted, and get that booty swinging. You want a race car? Get some thicky vickies, chunky monkeys, some of those fatty natties. I'm talking about huge rubber, front and back, more rubber than at least 400 Magnum XL Trojans. Get that suspension low and aerodynamic, but not so low that you're scraping and bottoming your frame out everywhere. You want a show build though? Do whatever you like. Slam your car on its nuts, put it to the ground, but know this, your taste is not the same as ours, and don't you ever try to act like you're smarter than us about speed when we know what we did for our cars. Mother Nature don't discriminate, physics is physics, and there's a reason we do leave the 1 or 2 finger wheel gap. So another funny thing I like to meme about was when car enthusiasts are brand new to the community, they may buy a decently clapped out car, and instead of spending $1,000 on fixing oil leaks, replacing an oil pump, polishing their valve covers, or getting a nice catch can, or maybe even porting their throttle body, nah fam, lights. I need to dump all of my money in the brightest, most blinding lights to show off all the horsepower I don't have. Red engine parts? Nah, red lights. Motorcycles, I give an instant homie pass for any kind of lighting, whether it's engine lighting or underglow, because it does help them get seen and not get mowed over by cagers in the middle of the night. I'll be honest, I couldn't give a modicum of a scrotum about lights. Seriously, I just don't care. It's one of the easiest mods to do as a car enthusiast, which is why I think some beginners get carried away with it, because they like to say, built not bought, and they have a whole bunch of LEDs in their engine bay, and I'm like, cool, baby's first mod, that doesn't really count as built, but you do you, I guess. It's not bad though for that to be your first mod, because it does actually give you the confidence to touch your car and actually do something to it and mess with some wires, and if you do it wrong it obviously won't work, which will motivate you to try to get it done right. And get yourself a good kit. You don't need to dump a ton of cash, but also don't dump too little cash, because like I said, you get too cheap of LEDs, they're gonna stop working after just a couple of months, and it's really sad and pathetic. The final entry of this video, it can be a mod because you can transmission swap, but it's more of a choice you make when you buy used or new cars, because it's like a dealer option or it's a factory option or blah blah blah. I'm gonna still include it in this video because yes, it can be a mod like I said, but also because this needs to just be talked about. Transmission choice. This is horrible when it comes to getting advice for this in the car enthusiast community. No one will give you the correct advice, alright? You're gonna have the DCT guys saying things like, and pushing up their glasses like, I'm a spec sheet nerd. Manuals are fractions of a second slower these days. Automatics just shift faster and blah blah. No one cares, alright? People who buy manual don't care. They're not gonna miss those fractions of seconds. The opposite is true, so before you manually just start going in the comments like, I don't like DCTs because I have a manual for the feel, because it makes me a man, and it's engaging. Even if you don't even change gears and you have a CVT or you have a torque converter automatic that doesn't even have paddle shifters, who cares? Buy what you like. I know a lot of YouTubers always try to say they don't care about transmission, then quickly flip the script and end up usually being a manual elitist, but in my case, I genuinely don't care because I've had experience with both. I daily commute on manual vehicles. Very difficult to use manual vehicles, mind you. Here's my Royal Enfield. This is an air-cooled World War II motorcycle. It's still freaking single-cylinder engine. This currently has the most miles of any vehicle I've owned as of this year because I don't really drive my Z06 anymore. This is my FXDR. This thing wants to murder me. It's way faster than it needs to be. It puts my Corvette to absolute shame when it comes to 0 to 60 and 0 to 100. And guess what? Also manual. I'm someone who commutes on a vehicle that's far more difficult than most vehicles that people commute on, and I don't care about the so-called manliness or road feel of it. And I'm still gonna use the manual vehicle even when I'm stuck in traffic. I don't believe in that myth. If you like manual enough, you can still drive it in traffic, or you can still ride it in traffic. Like I said, I had to keep my balance and shift gears, and I do that in traffic, and I'm fine with it. Here's the difference. doesn't make me manly. I don't care. There's nothing shameful about you owning an automatic car, and there's nothing manly about driving. It doesn't matter. You like it, you like it. That ends there. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you had fun. If you like cars, motorcycles, and other automotive content, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like this video. It really helps me out in the algorithm. Other than that, thanks for watching, and see y'all next time. Blade Angel out.